Get going. Tomorrow is going to be a screening of Hellivision Television, their Track Attack series. It's gonna be, I believe, at the Main. Yeah, and maybe they have tickets left. You could try, okay? But I'm legally obligated to tell you. I'm also being told to tell you about an upcoming screening of Film Score Fest. The guy running it, Charlie McCarran, he's a really cool guy in the community. He couldn't make it out to tell you, but he was like, please tell them. And that there's also a code to save money on tickets. Oh my gosh, I have to pull up the email to see the code. Okay, FSF5P. If you wanted it, you can talk to me after. Okay, like we will get it to you. We'll put it in the Nice Moves Discord chat for sure.
Can I go on Discord and
Yes,
contact you about it?
we'll put it in there. And if you are not in the Nice Moves Discord already, please do. I would say it's kind of the main hub of our community at this point. I think we have about 500 members, which is pretty cool. So yeah, okay. And then the final note is our own event, our next May event. We are planning is a State of Freelance panel. We're gonna have some very highly coveted, cool, independent creative directors in the Twin Cities talking about their work, talking about what it's like to be self-employed, talking about how it is right now. So please look forward to that. It will be on May 15th. Mark your calendars. And so that is the bulk of the announcements. Okay, and with that, we will transition to, we are gonna first just kind of give a bit of a rundown presentation of who we are. We're gonna have our panel of board members introduce themselves. Lily, you can run back up here. Okay. Because while, some of you have been to a lot of our events before or, are in our Discord, I think a lot of people don't actually know what we're doing on a month-to-month basis. And our thought is to change that so that then there's more context for talking about what we can choose to do as a group together in the town hall conversation portion after. All right, okay. And with that, we'll get going. Kaneli is our secretary, who unfortunately has to leave shortly. So Kaneli gets to introduce himself first.
Hello. I am Kaneli. Hello. I am Kaneli. I'm the secretary of Nice Moves. I also help out with events and mentorship starting soon. And what else?
How long have you been on the board?
I have been on the, I have 2 years?
2 years, yes.
2 years on the board. Started right out of college, thought I'd jump right into it, and I've been here through turbulence and fun times.
What's something about Nice Moves that has been meaningful to you?
Something about Nice Moves that has been meaningful to me is the mentorship program that we have running. When I was in college, I was a mentee. I got to be a mentee for Mike Owens, and that was a super awesome, fun time. I got to make a short animation with his guidance, with his lovely guidance, and it was super, super fun and very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Okay. Now you can, now you leave, I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, all right, we'll sit down. Okay, hi, I'll go next. I am Natalia Poteryakin. I'm the one that has been loudly talking so far. That is mostly because I'm the events committee chair, which means I MC all the events and I host these things and think of what we can do to get together on a month-to-month basis. I'm also now the president of Nice Moves. I've been involved with Nice Moves in some way since 2016, and then an official board member since 2021. And then now president for 2 years, heading into another 2-year term. I really owe a lot to Nice Moves. I got started, again, when I was in high school, actually, because my local high school did not have any meaningful art program. And I reached out to Mike Owens, who is a real pillar and mainstay of the community. And then that got me connected to Emery and Alicia Allen, who were starting Nice Moves at the time. And that's really what helped me kind of learn my career through apprenticeship while going to the University of Minnesota. And so I'm trying to give back in some way to be like, hey, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for this organization. And I really like animation in community. So yes, okay, there you go.
All right. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Cameron MacDonald. I am the vice president
Still not sure how I got here, but I've been with the board for, has it already been 2 years since I joined?
I know, it is crazy.
I thought it was shorter.
We
Ooh.
lure you in.
Wow, yeah, time flies. But yeah, so I've been with the board for 2 years, and I joined mainly just because I'm extremely passionate about animation. I mean, dirty little secret, I'm not a professional animator. That's not my career. But I do it on the side. I know, truly shocking. But I do it on the side for myself because I enjoy it. And I did submit something for Hellovision this time, and it will be shown. So, not promoting. But yeah, I was very excited about that. But yeah, I joined because I just love the community. I started showing up to the events pretty frequently and realizing that, wow, there's like an actual community of animation and motion graphic artists in the Twin Cities, and they're not all just fleeing to LA. And so it's really exciting to see that there's a place here for people to grow professionally and just kind of share their craft. And I was extremely happy to be able to contribute to it in some shape or form. So I do the social media. I'm actually the chair now, and I also am just kind of Nice Moves like unofficial tech goblin. So whenever you need anything tech related, I just kind of crawl out of my cave and do that, and I help set up the production for this. So yeah.
Cool.
I like that.
Hi, I'm Lily. I am on the events and the soon-to-be-announced education committee. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm not that fancy yet.
You're in charge of a different festival, though.
I am, yeah. So I joined Nice Moves in part because I have been attending events since my sophomore or junior year of college at MCAD. And then after graduating a couple years later, I started running some of my own community events. I run Go Test Fest out of Bryant Lake Bowl every 6 months. I've participated in many community events. I've got a lot of connections to both the film live action and the film animation communities in the Twin Cities. And so then one day Natalia reached out to me and was like, do you want to help with Nice Moves? And I was like, sure, why not? And now I'm entering my second year of participating in this. And I really love it because for me, my senior year of college was during lockdown. And so the transition out of the general college community and support network was a little tricky. And so I leaned on Nice Moves and started going to Nice Moves events all the time, not only to relearn how to socialize with society, but also to realize and remember that like there's a community outside of a college environment, and that makes the transition out of college or out of school in general to the larger community abroad less intimidating and less scary.
Nice. I'm Kai Chelsvig. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. Came mostly from video production, where I was a video editor. Now I'm a motion designer, 3D generalist, colorist, and a lot of different things. So Nice Moves to me is just a quintessential part of me being in this industry. If it were not for people like Mike Nelson, who introduced me to different people in this industry and the people that I get to talk to every day, I don't think I would be here. So I feel like I owe it a lot. I'm on the production committee right now and the finance committee.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say, I forgot to actually talk about what I do professionally, which is that I work at Make, and I work as a story artist and 2D animation director. But also, yeah, like shouting out like Mike Nelson, like a lot of the people in this room are part of the backbone of the animation community here. It's not just like whoever's sitting up front. We're just the people that get together on a Zoom call once a month, and other things. And we're gonna talk about that right now, actually. Okay.
All right.
What the heck is Nice Moves? Next slide. We are a volunteer-run organization. We do not get paid to do any of this. In fact, we used to all pay dues, $300, to serve on the board and to fund our operations. But we waived that fee back in 2021 because I was like, hey, we're kind of cutting out accessibility to some of the most like interesting and cool volunteers that we can recruit from in the community. And that has been a really great decision, but it means that we've been very punk rock in how we operate our budget since. We are a town square for motion creatives and more to connect. We are a safe space to get constructive feedback from actual people in the business about your work, about your portfolio, about your reel, and a lot of people use our Discord now and our show and tell feature to do that. We're a place to facilitate healthy conversations about the state of the industry, get advice about networking, about career in general, about animation. And we're here to help wherever we can to make great work. Okay, next.
Perfect. So yeah, what the heck isn't Nice Moves? Something we feel is helpful to clarify just so that there's not any misconceptions. First of all, we are not a job placement and recruiting agency. We don't do that in any official capacity, and we certainly don't earn any money for putting people in jobs. We like to facilitate those conversations. We have a job board channel in our server where people can post job postings they find if they think someone in the community might be able to join in and potentially apply to it, but that is not like our job, and we don't do it in a professional capacity.
Yeah. Sometimes people email our email to be like, I'm looking to hire animators. And I'm like, okay, you can go into our Discord, but I can't give you one. That's not how Nice Moves works.
Absolutely. And then secondly, we're not a studio. I don't think there's too many misconceptions about it, but just to be clear, we also don't recruit people to make animation for us, and we don't make any money off of people's animations or anything like that. We are just a community for people to connect. We are not exclusive or restrictive to working professionals, so you do not have to be working in the industry to be part of the community. A great example of that, I'm not a professional animator. I've never made money off of animation, but I'm part of the community, and now I'm on the board because I'm just passionate about that kind of work.
Stop undervaluing yourself.
I'm
You're here.
not
That's
having
all that
this,
matters.
I'm not having this argument, Kai. And then finally, we are not the solution to all problems, we wish. But mainly, we jokingly say that, but we will talk about it later. We realize things, especially lately, have been turbulent, and we are doing our best to help everyone where we can. But ultimately, we will do everything we can to facilitate things while also recognizing that we have our own limitations.
All right, click.
Oh no, that's not the right click. There we go.
Okay, what we have been doing so far as an organization. These are our kind of main pillars: connection, development, promotion, transparency. We do the monthly events. We try to have one every month without fail in some form. We have talks and mentorship, so you can develop your skills further by learning from people giving a nuanced technical talk, people talking about their journeys, their careers. You can get one-on-one mentorship, whether you're just starting in the industry or you're looking to pivot or skill up in one specific thing. That's something I want to get out there more, because I think a lot of people think our mentorship program is just aimed towards students or people who are just getting their footing. But a lot of times the most successful people in it have been, sometimes they're already working 5-6 years and they're getting feedback from someone that's 10 years ahead of them, or getting feedback on, hey, I want to learn Blender now, or a new skill. So you can totally look into that too and come to the mixers. Promotion, the whole idea that Minnesotan artists are humble and not always so good at putting themselves out there. And I know we can be more quiet folk, and we try to make it easier for you to put your work out into the community. We want to repost it. We want to let people know about our hashtag, #WeAreNiceMoves. It's something you can always tag your work with, and then we'll hopefully share it on our channels. And transparency, stuff exactly like this panel right now, and stuff like the salary survey, which a lot of people have said has historically helped them price themselves a little more fairly. Okay. Here's some examples of the connections we have done. Our monthly events. We do socials at breweries. We do workshops. We did like a collaborative zine workshop in last February. We do an AniJam. Usually we're going to kickstart that again this year to do a collaborative animated project together. And we could be doing other things, which is something we can talk about, in a bit. Want to hear your ideas for it always. Okay.
Can I mention something about the brewery meetups quick?
Yes.
We have them at a brewery, but it doesn't mean you have to drink to come to the events.
Very important
Okay,
point.
that's very important. If you don't drink, that's just come and chat with folk.
Completely
I do not drink. But they always have. I love being Minnesotan because they all have NA options now, and also you don't even have to buy a drink. No one will tell on you. It's just a nice free venue that we can hang out in. So
The breweries also aren't going to card you to get in. I know I've had friends who are under 21 who are like, can I even come? And I'm like, yes, you can, because breweries don't card you to get in. They just card you when you get a drink.
Absolutely.
all right. You want to talk about development?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so a big example of development here, of course, is our mentorship mixer we did just this last year. That was put on by our board member, Lee Smalt was one of the big organizers around it. And yeah, it's just a great opportunity for people to come together and meet other creatives as well as learn about people who are willing to teach someone about animation. And it can be different specialties. We have different mentors who specialize in different things. And they will put kind of a call out saying, hey, I'm open to mentoring someone. And you go and meet them, chat with them. And you can bring your portfolio, get a review on it, and get feedback on what you're doing. And generally, it's just a fun social event.
Yeah, I was also gonna say, it's actually also probably the easiest way to get like 5+ portfolio reviews in one day, because you can hop around and hear what everyone has to think about your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to, remind people, it's free, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
it is all free.
Yeah, free. So you don't have to pay for the portfolio review either, which is huge. So
Well, if anyone is charging for portfolio reviews,
Yeah.
that is a huge scam.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But yeah,
Great.
seriously, go to the mentorship mixers. They're amazing.
Okay, click.
Yes.
Thank you. More testimony of cool people doing reviews.
Yeah, we got even other board members here. There's Chris, who just joined the board, mentoring someone.
We lure people in. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a scam just for us to get new board members.
Okay.
Don't let them know our plan.
In the past, we did have a Spotlight podcast, and we also had articles that went up on our website talking to other professionals in the community. It is something that we phased out to focus on, like, as a volunteer board, the in-person events and the community building being our main function. But I wanted to mention it because the archive of them is always still up. And if people were to listen to them and then be like, hey, actually, this was really awesome, we can bring it back. We just need to hear from people that they benefited from it. We do, Feature Fridays is something we've always tried to do on Instagram. We are curious to hear from you guys on, like, what social media platforms even matter to you these days, because I know that has changed a lot on, is reblogging people's work to our stories even effective? Would you like us to promote the community's work in other ways? We're totally open to ideas in that vein. There's the Show and Tell channel in our Discord. We do the collaborative Anajams, and we always try to get a public screening somewhere of those. And again, yes, more. We could be doing events that are all about just showing people's reels. We could do a monthly meetup that's dedicated to just a show and tell of what people are working on. We could push further on this if people were interested. Okay. Salary survey?
Yes. Finally, transparency. The big thing we do, besides this new town hall that we're doing, is the salary survey. We try to conduct this every year, and the point is to get as much information as possible about the local industry and how people are being paid, and breaking it down by demographics. So we try to break it down along gender lines. So we have, male, female, non-binary, anywhere in between. And we also try to break it down by the amount of years that someone's been in the industry. We keep it as, that's about as far as we go. We try to keep it anonymous so that people aren't worried about submitting this information, and we're not necessarily naming specific studios or anything like that, but it gives people an idea of kind of the state of the industry in Minnesota, what people are being paid, and it can help you if you ever go back in and want to talk about your pay, and you now know that someone with around your experience in the industry might be making X amount of dollars, and you can bring that information to the table.
I also wanted to say that unfortunately this last year was a bit of a dip in response rate. We have all our past salary surveys on the website too, so you can go back several years. We've had quite a few years that had close to 100 response rate. We're gonna definitely work on that for the next year, letting you know. Okay. The board, we have all of us up on the website in case you're just like, who the hell are these hooligans? We are not the entire board. There's 12 of us. We're just the, executive schmucks picked to discuss. But you could also apply to join the board. We open up applications every year if you wanted to be more involved in facilitating community. I think it's a great way to do it. It's a 2-year term, 1 year for student board members. It is obviously volunteer. We also operate in a committee system. So what happens is the board members commit to each being on 2 to 3 committees. You can see them listed here: events, social media, mentorship, production, new committee, education, and finance. And I put this little note at the bottom that's like, also anyone can apply to be a committee member at any time by reaching out to a board member. If you were like, hey, I don't know if I want to commit to being a board member and do like the monthly board meetings and be on 2 committees, you could just be on 1 committee. If you're like, hey, I'd really love to polish up my social media skills, or I'd love to be more involved in mentorship, you could totally reach out at any time. Okay, cool. The future. Now that we've talked about everything we have done, what are we thinking to do? We wrote up a little manifesto. Nice moves. We work to retain local talent, attract new talent, and show the world that great creative work grows in the Midwest. We are the public library of local animation community. If some of you know of, television, there's always going to be like fun, cool, creative, experimental spaces, kind of like the punk rock zines. And we are the public library in that it's sort of like all are welcome. It's a space to talk more about, professional development, technical skill, and support some of these kind of more offshoot play spaces is kind of how I think about it. It's defined by our commitment to accessibility, that it is always going to be free to come to an event, that you don't have to be going to art school, you don't have to be a working professional. Like, I firmly believe that animation should be an accessible art to all. And in the end, if you love animation, motion design, VFX, and live in Minnesota or surrounding areas, we welcome the Dakotas and Wisconsin and Iowa. This is for you. Okay. I forgot I did write a presidential statement. Okay. I kind of touched on it a little at the beginning, but basically on a personal level, part of why I end up doing this outside of my work hours, even though, you can be pretty burnt out sometimes, is because I think the commercial animators in the Twin Cities make really cool, weird stuff in their off hours, and I want there to be a space that is going to be supportive of that. I have a not-so-secret mission to help independent animation flourish here, to piggyback off of some of the support that comes from the Minnesota State Arts Board, to kind of be like, hey, Minneapolis is really well known for indie comics. Why not independent animation? This is my own personal goal. That doesn't mean, obviously, that's not what Nice Moves stands for, but that's one of my little personal flames. Also, because I think most people get into animation because it's more fun to do stuff together. If we all just wanted to draw alone in a room, being a graphic novelist is always an option. But I do this because it's more fun to make stuff in community. Okay. All right. We're going to be doing more events this upcoming year. We're going to be exploring more forms of connection. We're thinking about, would you guys be interested in a newsletter with monthly updates on local going-ons? Is there something outside of the Discord we could be doing to foster community on a regular basis? Doing a town hall like this to actually just get more input on growing this into something that is what you want it to be. And then also to be not as dependent on Twin Cities focus. We would really love to involve more and more of greater Minnesota. We have people out in Duluth. We have a board member based in Fergus Falls. So continuing that push outwards to loop people in. Okay.
That aligns with the goal of Mega Soda. We just become big enough to encompass everybody. I'm okay with this.
Minnesota.
All right. Already talked about how talking to you right now is one of those goals. Thank you for bearing with us on this long intro presentation. We are now going to be able to transition into the actual, I want to hear more what you think than what I think. I already know what I think. So what is the current state of animation, motion graphics, and visual effects asterisks in Minnesota? I'm glad that the gifts made you laugh. We know it's a bit rough out there. We don't have obviously an exact scope. We're obviously always saddened to hear about local studios closing down, about, I've been talking to freelancer friends who aren't finding maybe as steady of a trickle of clients. So we're trying to be aware of that. Bathroom run, I'm guessing.
Something in the Discord about, are the doors open?
Oh, okay. Some chronically late animators, I swear. Okay. Yes, so what we're going to do to kind of organize this is we're going to open with a section of we've prepared some questions we have for you. We have a microphone that you can pass around so that the people watching the live stream can watch it, can hear it. And then once we're through those questions, then you'll be able to ask the board anything you wanted to ask. It's meant to be a pretty free-flowing conversation. All I ask is that if you talk, don't talk for maybe like more than 3 to 4 minutes straight, just to give other people some chance to be a part of the conversation.
Also, just a reminder, talking with a microphone is weird, so when you're asking a question, just keep it right here, because some people are like this.
All right, okay.
Project.
So this is the microphone. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the questions. Got them on the phone right here. Okay. 1 second. Okay. We're opening on just a simple but tough one of what are some of the biggest challenges that you have been facing in the last year in your career? What are the biggest challenges you've been facing in whatever your craft is and how you're hoping to move forward? All right, okay, all right.
Sorry, there's someone at the door trying to get in. We wanted to make sure
Okay.
they join us.
Okay, and then you can just raise your hand and I'll run the mic over to you. Okay. Oh, the tables, oh no, we're gonna have to toss. Okay,
Getting your foot in the door.
that's
Pretty much it.
yeah. Are you a student? Are you graduated?
I'm an alumni, yeah.
Okay, cool. Is it okay if I ask where you went to school?
Yeah, no problem. My name is DeAndre Robinson. I graduated from Hennepin Technical College for 4 years. I went there for media arts and graphic design. That's my degree. It's a AAS degree.
Okay, that's really cool
right.
because I've always been trying to connect more with Hennepin Tech because I know that they're teaching you guys animation and media arts, but we've
Yeah.
never directly linked.
It's not that big as some
Yeah.
may think, because I took all their animation classes, and it's not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, they are getting bigger now, as far as I've been hearing. They are adding more classes for animation. That's
Okay.
one thing I did hear a while ago, is that they are starting to do that more. So, really fun college. Definitely had some good memories there. I mean, even though I've been stuck in a depressing state ever since I've been out of college, but I'm trying to, do better with some things
Yeah, totally fair.
and all that. But yeah, really, really fun college. I did a lot of graphic design and illustration type work during my time there, and some study in film as well.
Okay, well, thank you. I was like, you can, maybe you'll pass it to the.
Here's a question for you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do they help you with internships? Is it required to find an internship or?
I mean, yeah, they do have people who you talk to personally about these sort of things. Even though it's been a while for me since I have talked to them, but they do provide services outside, like especially after you're graduated. So yeah, they do provide some sort of services for that.
But it's not required to
It's
graduate?
no, as far as I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, no, I think almost most creatives I know have a gap between graduation and their first job in the industry. A lot of times it can be like a gap in okay, the classes didn't teach you the skills that are directly relevant to what the people are hiring.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's exactly how I felt when I graduated. That's exactly how I felt, man.
right.
Especially looking back at it.
Yeah. Well, okay. I hope that the mentorship mixers maybe could be like like some avenue there.
That's one thing that has piqued my interest.
Okay,
thus far.
cool. All right.
Definitely.
Yeah, we pass it to somebody else. Oh, there you go.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what challenge faces
My
do you
whole-
face,
What's that?
Scott? What challenge do you face, Scott?
I don't change, I want to just, I love your idea about wanting to reach out to the Hennepin Tech. When I started my career in the mid-'80s, the two of the most experienced animators in town, and eventually computer animators, one who now works at ILM, both went to Hennepin Tech. That's where they met each other. That's where they learned exactly what he was talking about, learning the different graphic stuff. They learned how to run a camera, which is how we used to make things back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And-
we did that too.
And,
I guess they haven't updated.
but they wound up, both the class and the two of them together wound up making animations that used to go, Dave Moore used to have a thing called Moore on Sunday, where he would have a short film festival, a contest every once a year. And they wound up winning that contest. And so they wound up getting a job at, one of them worked at MCAD and one of them worked at the Walker and that kind of stuff. So there's definitely Hennepin Tech and those sort of community, groups are a great place, I think, we could reach out to more, so.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, oh, come get it. All right.
And I started a timer, so I won't talk.
All right. Wait, also, you're monitoring the chat, Lily? Yes.
I do. I
Okay.
have the YouTube chat up on my phone as well.
Okay, cool. Also,
Big team.
we thank you for forgiving our lovely Chris Beath for taking some behind-the-scenes photography. We like to sometimes document that we exist, but yeah, we'll try to keep it inobtrusive. Okay. I could talk about a challenge, which is I think in the context of now being, someone who's working in the industry and being in it for over 2 years now, I think the toughest part is that when you're a student, there's a lot of room to really be like, okay, I'm exploring my style and my own stylistic direction and getting to just like sit with a sketchbook and study for like 2 hours and like upskill that way. And while you definitely improve a lot on the job and you improve a lot doing commercial work, getting to just be like, the last time I did figure drawing was maybe 2 years ago, right? And so, but then if you're gonna carve out time to do that after work, you're then being like, I have to sacrifice often my health, my family, a lot of other really important things. So that's something I'm really trying to figure out right now is like how to keep developing outside of a work context. So yeah, if anybody has any thoughts on how, I think most people that I talk to about this are like, I have no idea either. So, yeah.
I think, oh,
All right.
I'll hold.
Hello. This is my boss.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Danny. I run Make here in town, and I figured, you guys don't very often hear from the perspective maybe of someone that runs a studio, but the same way that people have concerns and worries about what's going to happen with the industry and what's going to happen with their careers, we have the same concerns as far as what is the studio going to be? How do we position ourselves so that we're relevant and successful in the future? So don't feel like if you're feeling concerns and anxiety and stuff like that, like everyone's feeling it. Up, down, left,
Never goes
right.
away.
Yeah. So, it's a thing that everyone is very, I think, aware about, and I think the best thing that everyone can do is have an open mind about how they can do work and how it's going to be relevant for the future. Just studio owners, people that have medium experience in the industry, and people that are just going to enter the industry very soon.
What's a challenge you think Make's gonna have in repositioning itself in the industry in the next year?
So my feeling is that for studios, I've felt this for a long time now, is that individuals and small teams are able to do more and more like higher quality work. And then, of course, now with AI and stuff like that, individual people or pairs of people are going to be able to do incredible work on their own. So the question is, what is the function for a studio going into the future? And I think you have to focus on like the most difficult, most complicated work, because that's the only work that's really going to require large teams, 10, 15, 20 people working together on a project, because it's so complicated. The standard is so high. You need kind of multidisciplinary people to contribute. It's more than what one person could bring to the table.
Thank you.
It's a lot harder now with AI involved.
So we'll see. You just gotta keep pushing, you know?
Others say it's easier too, but I think it's a fine line.
Yeah. Well, it's tricky. It's easier in some ways, and it's more difficult in others. I was just at the MCAT doing talk about other stuff like this. Obviously, kind of came up, and you know, the reality is that some people get into the industry to do. They want to do 2D hand-drawn animation. They love drawing, and that's what they want to do. They just want to draw, you know, more and more frames. That's going to not be needed in the future. The future is not like 20 years away. It's soon. But there's a lot of people get into the industry because they want to tell stories, or they want to create entire pieces. For people like that, this is a gift, because if I was starting out right now, I'd be making entire short films on my own. Something that is, you know, would be completely impossible in the past.
Especially with a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. So the question just ends up being, are there less people needed, or are the people needed in more directorial roles, and the like hardcore art portion is more hobby, you know? It's like painting and drawing is something that you do as the hobby, but to create the content for pay is going to be more directorial.
Makes sense.
And if you'd like, I can also speak more on that. I went to school almost doing exclusively 2D hand-drawn work. But I spent time making sure, like now for my job, I work at King Show Games. I make art for gambling games. I freelanced on and off for a year after graduating school. It's not a field you'd think you'd end up in, but it's a field that pays you pretty decently, you know? But now for work, for example, I rarely, if ever, do any hand-drawn stuff. I spend 90% of my time in After Effects. I work in 3ds Max. I work in Spine. I do puppeting. I do texturing. I do literally anything they ask me to do. And so, like Danny was alluding to, like, the pattern I have noticed is the more well-rounded you can make yourself, the easier it's going to be to adapt, and the more hireable you will become. Because that period where I was only having a portfolio of exclusively hand-drawn material, it was really hard to find work. And then I sat down, I took some time to like do some basics After Effects tutorials just to have work in there demonstrating that I knew how to use the program. And it got a lot easier to start hearing back. Now, obviously, that was back in 2021, 2022, a very different environment than the environment you find yourself in now. So advice will change, but ultimately it's fun to be well-rounded. And that's what's cool about the Nice Moves Discord. If you want to learn how to use After Effects or Blender or anything like that, there's people in there who've been using that program for a very long time who are super excited to just info dump literally as much information on you as possible. So
yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it does make sense that as a Minnesota-based community group, obviously a lot of us lean towards generalists, right? Like, and kind of what we're seeing is a bit of a collapse of support in LA industry for specialists, right? To be like, if you made your living on just the color palettes for animated TV shows, like being just a color designer may not be a very big field anymore, right? And so a lot of them are now trying to generalize. So maybe there's some positive there to be like, for us, we're already there. We already were in a bit more of this generalist, holistic pool. So it's something we can lean into. And not to completely veer into the AI discussion, I mean, I assumed it would happen at some point.
Prepared for it. To an extent.
We want to recognize up at the top that like the board has like a range of views on AI, and obviously we know within Nice Moves there's a range of views, and so kind of the Nice Moves statement on that front is sort of like, we're an organization that exists to support human artists. If there was a point that like in the end, like I want there to be some fairness, I want there to be, okay, fairness is the wrong word. I just mean to say, we're in the interest of human interests, but the weird asterisk on that is that means also welcoming artists into the space that may be using AI in their workflow, and we're not gonna be like, you can't be in Nice Moves if you are into AI. Like that doesn't feel like our place. It's even though obviously I know I also support people who would want to take a stronger personal stance, like to be like, no, like I don't like people using AI. It's like people need to hash it out, but the public library can't put like a sign on the door that's like, this is what we say and think, and everyone has to agree with that. But kind of to bounce off of like how it's, changing the industry, I think like beyond just like being a generalist, it's sort of this idea of like, in what I have learned with like looking at AI, it's that it just doesn't understand meaning. I know some computer people may disagree with me, but like it doesn't understand, I think, meaning in the way that we can interface with like a beautiful visual metaphor that wasn't already written 100 times before. Sure, AI can spit out, a butterfly as a metaphor for transformation, but how many visual artists come up with a million other metaphors for transformation? Like that's what I mean is like having that holistic view on how you translate meaning to the viewer, I feel like is not gonna go away. But yeah, okay, sorry.
I would say we have a question in the chat actually.
Yeah, all right.
So.
Okay. The question is, I'm all for learning different avenues and being a generalist, but then how would you go about that for portfolio work? Since I know studios seem to want specialized portfolios.
So, I feel like I can answer
You want to
that
do it?
pretty
Yeah,
well.
do it, yeah.
So, like some of these people alluded to, I went to school to be a screenwriter, and then I was a video editor, and then I was a motion graphics artist, and then I was a live action director, then I was a colorist. So it goes all over the place, but what you really have to do is you have to tailor your portfolio to that specific thing. I could make a website that's just like, here's me cutting footage, like here's the editing portion. I could make another website like, here's my 3D visualization skills. And I do see people out there that I do all of this. I don't think there's any right way, but whoever's doing the hiring is gonna have an opinion about that. They might be like, oh, they also have this other coloring stuff. We don't need that. We just need a specialist. But, websites, you don't need your own home server. You can pull up Wix or you can pull up Squarespace and just make one dedicated to that, or a Vimeo portfolio.
I'm curious, how much time would it take you to pivot between specialties and be like, okay, I can be hired for this specialty?
I would say for most of the jobs I was on, I was also learning something else at the same time, and that kind of like helped me pivot. Like I was learning After Effects when I was an intern, and then I pivoted to that, and then I would be doing After Effects, but I'm also like, I got to learn color. I have to learn DaVinci Resolve, and I would have that. And now I'm at a place like, if I need to hop into something new, I'm at a photo studio right now. Tomorrow I'm going to be a photo tech on a Target shoot. I don't know how to do that.
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
Tomorrow, but telling my employer I do know how to do that. No, they ran me through it. But
Yeah.
you kind of have to pivot to a lot of things. I mean, some people can just do Houdini simulations their entire life. They can do that. But I would say the reason why I've had longevity and not many long gaps in my career is just that I can just choose what's coming next.
Okay, I do have another question for the community, but of course, if you think of a challenge that you wanted to bring up later, we will allow it. But the question is, what is something that is exciting you in the world of animation and motion design and VFX right now? Like, it could be work that's inspiring you, it can be programs, it can be any kind of development that you see going on.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm excited about is technology and hardware is just powerful now. The stuff that I'm able to do on my PC is, insane compared to what, 10, 15, 20 years ago. You'd have seen like behind the scenes of like ILM and their box modeling stuff. They're waiting like days for a frame, and I'm like, it's taking minutes for a frame. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I like that we have the power to make more things quickly and efficiently. Yeah.
I forgot I should stay standing to help with the mic shuffling.
We do have a comment in the chat about
Okay.
what's exciting in the community.
Okay, you read it.
From Michael, we have Hellovision is exciting me. Reminder.
Is that the organizer?
Yes. but since we're looking, hi Michael, since we're I'll self promo all day. Hellovision's fantastic, and if you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for weird stuff, you should come hang out with us again tomorrow. Most of us will be there. But yes, technology is fantastic. I just bought a new laptop last year. The things I can run on it, oh my God. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was actually going to grab that because I was going to say the thing I love about Hellovision specifically is that they give you permission to do things not perfectly. And in fact, they say you shouldn't do it perfectly. And I really appreciate that about them. But another thing that's like really exciting me actually about this is the advancements happening with NPR, like non-photorealistic rendering. Seeing like more artistic form coming back into the 3D world, and it's not all just about photorealism anymore, has been really, really awesome. There's been some great strides, and actually Blender specifically is going to get like a huge update pretty soon that's going to optimize Eevee and make it better for non-photorealistic rendering, so you can do more cartoonish and like Unreal type styles in 3D. And that's been really exciting to see because, I mean, I think there's been a lot of advancements over the years, but of course, I think one of the big things that came into the lexicon, or what's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, Spider-Verse, I think, is one of the big ones that kind of got the general public being like, whoa, you can do 3D that's not photoreal, even though we've been doing it for many years before that. But so seeing organizations, especially like Blender, like a nonprofit, free open source, pushing into that and saying, hey, we should really be prioritizing this is really cool to see.
That's actually very true. I also feel personally very excited of like, I think we are gonna enter into like a solid, I don't know, maybe 10-year, maybe less, like renaissance of 3D, 2D hybrid. And you might be like, we've already been in it for 5 years ever since Spider-Verse came out. But I think this is like the next frontier because now we're gonna see indie projects using it, right? Like Spider-Verse is a multi-million dollar 2D, 3D hybrid versus I'm seeing a bunch of 2D artists pick up Blender in like a month in their free time and post really cool work online. And obviously like Glitch just dropped a new pilot, Gaslight District, I think is what it's called. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's a really cool 3D, 2D hybrid style. And so I think we're gonna keep seeing more of that. So yeah.
And on top of that, with things going as fast as they've ever gone before, like you think about the time that it took people to fly a plane, and then all of a sudden, now, however many years later, we're on the moon. Like, technologically, we're going faster than we've ever been going before. My brother works at NVIDIA in their cloud, their department.
One conversation at a time, please. Thanks.
He works with their AI computing, and I, when all this Sora stuff first started coming out, I was like, am I going to be able to work next year? And what he told me is as long as you're in front of it, like just keeping tabs on it, you're good. I think we have a lot of people who are, no, I can't, this isn't the way we do things. Unfortunately, I think with where we're at, this is just kind of technology exploding. We're at a new technological revolution right now. Wah, wah.
Yeah, I think actually kind of continuing on that, and part of what I was saying a little bit before is that I think that there will be a lot, even though I was saying that there won't be a lot of people doing 2D, maybe it won't be fully like for like commercial work, like the paid stuff with the tight deadlines, but I do think that a lot of people are going to do it for creating content and creating entertainment. And I think that there's going to be huge value in authenticity, because everything is going to look kind of fakey, super polished, you know. At the end of the day, if you just, you know, let AI do its thing, it's going to look like the most kind of ideal average of something. And people are going to appreciate like television, like, you know, broken stuff, things that clearly have a human hand in it. So, and that will be easier and easier to do as the years go by. So I think in the next 5-10 years, we're going to see a ton of people creating content that you're like, I can't believe that this was made by one person or a couple of people, and it's going to look very human and it's going to be very compelling. So I think that that's going to get valued, whereas the other thing is going to be like corporate, you know, just noise that gets sent out that nobody cares about. And maybe on the back end of it, you know, there's a reaction to that where people don't want to just be flooded by perfect noise. They want something that is meaningful. So maybe that's on the other end.
I do have another exciting thing from the chat that I think is. It is not from Michael this time. No. This one, I unfortunately cannot pronounce your username. Sorry. But they are excited to see more indie projects online. And I think to Natalia's point, to Danny's point, that's something that's really exciting right now is YouTube as an indie space and Vimeo as an indie space is starting to kind of come back a little more in terms of like what people are posting and sharing. And again, not to bring up our Discord again, but to bring up our Discord again, we love to see your projects. You all inspire everyone else to do more work, to do cooler work, to do things to help each other grow. So yeah, I agree. More projects online is going to be super cool to see, and it's always fun when people share their work.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be polished. Just share.
Yeah.
Just share, and people will.
I will
comment.
say, I mean, okay, not to be a downer on the what's exciting question, but like, I do think it's tough to be like, okay, the indie space is growing at the expense of paid work shrinking, right? So it's like, okay, it's now cheaper and more effective to make your own stuff than ever before, which means there are more people than ever that can figure out how to make it work at 7 p.m. at home after they did something else all day. And I think a lot of animators are also moving towards that question. Like I've had a lot of conversations with people in the community that are like, hey, maybe I am going to do something else during the day and I'm going to make my stories afterwards. And I think like my thought is that Nice Moves is a place to have real conversations about that, to be like, maybe if you do need to make more money to support a family or other, you know, have health conditions or like there's all these different things that can squeeze people out of the industry, and it sucks. And I wish that it wasn't happening, but yeah. Okay, yeah.
I just wanted to say one quick thing in regard to some of the topics being what Danny was saying in particular. I think in like regard to AI, I think it's really important to keep in mind personally, like I work at, we have a creative department, but we do a lot of writing. I work at a public affairs, public relations firm, and you know, the creative space in regards to visuals is not the only thing getting disrupted by AI, right? Writing, all sorts of industries, accountants, you name it, right? So this is not just a challenge that our industry is facing. And I see it like in particular with writing, right? ChatGPT can, you know, produce, you know, large volumes quickly of writing, but my point being is that it's, I think as visual creators, it's important not to just focus on execution, but clients are looking for us to solve challenges, solve problems, and we should be firm in our understanding of strategy. So not just, you know, we can create this pretty picture, but what does that pretty picture achieve? What is the intent behind this? I think focusing on those principles is very important. So thanks for.
That was an awesome contribution, Chris.
I think that's plain and simple as an artist in general, really, because it's a big issue in art right now.
Oh,
than
thank you.
anything else, really.
Oh, sorry. I was going to give you the mic, but if you're done.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to make that one statement. Is that it's a big, I'd say, issue and deal in the art community when it comes to AI art. It's because there is a fine line between AI being used as a tool than an actual generator just to make art. I think there is a big fine line between that. And me personally, yeah, when I first saw AI art for the first time, yeah, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was very dumb. Like, are you people this lazy? But then after looking into it, like, I'm thinking, you know what? This is actually a good tool for like maybe making my own references, making my own layouts, and then built on top of that with my own creative input. Like, I see it as a base tool. That's what I see it as, like a tool for bases and all of that sort of things. I think it's a really great tool for that. I've been using like one AI generator called Comfy UI, if anybody's familiar with it. It's a very simple tool, though it's a lot of...
Okay, I think I'll reroute a
techno
bit
stuff.
back to the question, because Brock wanted to say something. Oh, yeah, okay.
For people that don't often post in the show-off channel on our Discord, what would you say to encourage them to post more often, to make that a more lively area?
That is a good question, I guess.
I can do it. I'll
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
I'll do my best. I love seeing cool things. I love seeing stick figures. I love seeing everything. One of the things I like to remember when I post on Discord is that people may not react to it right away. People may not say anything right away. People may not say anything at all. They might only react with memes, so you might not get any notifications after you post. But I think one of the cool things about Show and Tell, and what I would tell people to encourage them to post, is that we are a safe space. Like, we do moderate our Discord. We've rarely, if ever, had any issues with people in our Discord. So no one is going to say anything. Yeah. So, like, you don't have to worry about people coming in and being like, this looks dumb. Because we're a library. We're here for good times, fun times, and supportive times.
I guess, though, that is a good thing of, like, I haven't really thought about the fact that people don't really often reply to the work. Because often I'll look at the channel and be like, nice, and I won't even leave an emoji, and maybe I should work on that. But also, it's something we could, more thoughtfully do, to be like, hey, we're going to maybe do an event out of it, to be like, everyone, tonight, let's post something you're working on and try to leave a comment on at least one other person's thing. And it can be also like more explicit, like, oh, you can offer feedback. It doesn't just have to be the positive, and people will, if we make an event more focused on that, that could be a good idea.
Yeah. I was gonna weigh in and say, yeah, and I mean like something like work in progress Wednesdays or something like that. Because like one thing that I'd love to see for like Show and Tell too is some people do it, and some people I think are, I'm probably one of those people who's like self-conscious, like I'll just post the finished thing because it looks really pretty. But I would love to see more things where people just show me their process. Like that's something that I'm obsessed with. If I can see behind the scenes of how you're creating something and seeing it in the stages of making it, I think that's super cool to see. And I think it's also very good for other people to see that like it's not going to look pretty while you're making it, and that's okay.
I was just about to be like, oh, should we make a work in progress channel? But then I thought about how no, I think we should just make it clear that Show and Tell should be for both works in progress and finished things, and we'll do it that way. That does segue into the next question, which is just, it's kind of a two-parter. One is like, if you had a broader event idea that you were always like, hey, it would be really cool if a group of volunteers made this happen, or a past Nice Moves event that you thought was really cool and maybe we didn't do it again, and you'd like to see us do it again, we would like to hear that. The second part of the question is, if you're someone who appreciates the speaker events, if there was a topic or like some form of development you would really like us to engage on. It could be something like taxes for freelancers. It could be something like a panel on transitioning post-school, just like anything where you're like, wow, that would really address a pain point in my life, we can focus on organizing a speaker for that. I know that sounded like a statement, but there was a question in there. All right.
I'd like to see Nice Moves do stuff with other organizations. Like there's an active Minnesota AIGA group, which is more graphic design publications. There's also the IGDA Twin Cities, the game development group.
Yeah.
Wants to reach out to this group.
Yeah.
We've already connected with them. We just haven't found an event that cross-pollinated.
Yeah.
Also, it's funny because Scott Gaff is at every one of these events, I guarantee you.
and then also in the Minnesota legislature, they had last year Minnesota Film Board got funding and possibly maybe do some work or cross work with them or contact them because that's getting to be bigger, and also like Duluth had like a pitch festival for like Netflix and just
Yeah,
all
Catalyst
yeah.
Content Festival is up in Duluth in October. I did actually go last October with Danny. It's fairly small, but it is local, which I think, you know, that can be its own advantage to be in a local pool of creators, and they have good networking events and it's pretty affordable to attend. So for people that are interested in specifically, more the entertainment, like TV script world, that's what Catalyst Content Festival does. I think their deadline is around July, so you could look into that. And I appreciate you bringing up the Minnesota Film Board. For those people who don't know about that, it's a new subsection under the Explore Minnesota Tourism Board. They're like the umbrella facilitators now of the Minnesota Film Board, but that doesn't mean it has to be tourism related. And I don't have any direct link to them. I know they're very closely linked to Film North, so I agree that we should do more outreach to be like, hey, let's talk to Film North. Let's see if we can get animation more represented in the Film Board's mind. Yeah.
I'd love to see something where everybody gets together to work in whatever medium they are comfortable with. This could be a virtual event or at a brewery. I personally run like a sketch group. It's a small group, but I'd love to see a huge amount of people. And actually, if this were to go through, I volunteer to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you already have a sketch group that you were comfortable doing like a Nice Moves open event once, we could totally direct people towards that sketch group. But we could also do an event, I totally agree, that's more friendly to if people are doing 3D or other more computer heavy things. I'm guessing Discord would have to be the way to go because nobody's lugging their PC outside. But I think also.
Not with that attitude.
But I think a sketch group could be a supplementary event that would be really fun. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If other people think of requests of events or speakers that you want to make of us, like, know that you can email or DM me at any time. You can also email the Let's Get Together Nice Moves email at any time, just to be like, hey, it would be cool if you did this, and we will probably do it. So, all right. Yeah. Sorry, he got out the mic.
Does Nice Moves have any connections with like local high schools? Because I think you said that you started when you were younger, and I'm just curious. Like, I haven't seen any, like, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and I know they're out there.
Yeah, I know that they
curious.
must like animation too, because they're all online, right? Like, but I agree. So that's actually part of why we're restarting the education committee. Is we used to have more direct partnerships in before the pandemic with schools, and obviously some of the people that spearheaded that left from the board, and now we're kind of reviving it. I was just lucky in that I posted. Oh, I nudged the wrong thing. It's okay. There's nothing that you guys have to actually see on there anymore. So. I guess what I mean is I got lucky in that I posted my work online, and that's how I found out about Mike Owens and Nice Moves and like made connections. But I would like to make it easier for people. Yeah, okay.
I think the pandemic kind of killed that effort a few years ago. We were just about to have conversations with a bunch of high schools, and then they're like, don't bother us for the next forever.
Because, I mean, I think, this is something our board member Kevin has talked about since he's, teaching at MCAT right now, but there is this big weird disconnect of like people hear of animation, I think as a high school student, in the context of there's character designers and like traditional 2D animators and like positions that aren't obviously relevant to the local Twin Cities economy in like most ways. Not to say that there are zero character designers in the area, but it's just few and far between. And just, I think getting in there early and being like, hey, if you wanted to be involved in this industry, here's what some of those positions actually look like earlier seems like a good idea. Then again, of course, if people want to try to move to LA and make that their thing forever, all power to them. The idea is just to give people the information. Yeah, okay. I had more questions for the board, but honestly, I'm thinking since we're kind of getting a bit late, we'll open up these last 5-7 minutes for any questions you just wanted to ask anybody on the board or to the group. And then we can more freeform converse back in the lounge over pizza. So if there were any questions. Yeah.
So again, I'm doing my whole thing that I've been doing this since almost everybody here was born, including the old people. One of the things that we used to do, a predecessor of Nice Moves was the local SIGGRAPH chapter. And one of the things we used to do was try to have these kind of events, these monthly events, try really hard to have them at studios or at somebody's personal studio. Better yet, at a studio that maybe more than 4 or 5 people work at. And we have a sneaky person here who's the president of Meditech, who actually hires about this many people to work for him. Anyway, those studio tours were really, really, really cool because it would be half students. And it really, gave them an idea that, people can actually do this. What compromises did they make in their, I used to be a colorist and now I'm a, 3D generalist, or vice versa. Keith Cormier, who worked in town for several years and was a speaker at the Met a couple times, was a generalist when he was here and very much found out that if you wanted to get a job at Pixar or Blue Sky, you had to be became a color and lighter. Anyway, the studio tours were just so cool. I'm trying to remember the last time we had one at Make, but it was really cool.
I was actually at that one. I was 16.
Too.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And it's,
you and I played video
now, we
games
did not
afterwards.
speak. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to talk.
No, that's okay. You're much more important than I am.
No.
But anyway, it was really great for this whole cross-pollination thing, and for just to see what's going on, what is going on and what isn't going on. And a way to introduce maybe a couple new faces to the studios and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Anyway, something to think about.
That's really great because
no one has said anything about the Minnesota Electronic Theater tonight, and I guess I won't either.
Oh my God. Okay, I will say something. Okay, first of all, the studio tours is something that a lot of people have brought up from the past, from before the pandemic, and I also thought that they were really cool. And just part of why we haven't done them is obviously a lot of people's physical locations shut down or people move to a hybrid mode of working. But I don't know if that's slowly shifting back at all. Obviously, we're, like Motion 504 would have been a place that I would have done it at, and obviously they closed down. So it's like, as of now, my awareness from my position is like, there's what? Make, Pixel Farm, Meditech.
Studios, the people who put it on television, but they somebody gave a talk at MCAT, and they wound up.
People who don't run
Yeah. Yeah, people want to crush cement.
I guess I mean to say Hex Studio is like a tiny space. Like I guess what I mean to say is the past studio tours, they had like 100+ people at them. So I think it's just tough to think of a studio that's like willing to support that. But then I'm saying this on the live stream, so anyone could reach out to me if we somehow, if there's someone working at Pixel Farm listening or here, we can make it happen. And obviously we can do Make as well. Like full transparency, part of why we've kind of avoided that is, I'm aware that I'm the president and I work at Make, and Danny's our executive director and he owns Make, but we really don't want people to associate Nice Moves as a Make thing. It needs to be this cross studio, like, I am here to uplift everybody. Yeah, screw my employer. I'm kidding. But like,
You have an employee review tomorrow.
it's like Nice Moves isn't gonna, be successful if it's not about serving like the broader community needs. And so we didn't want to host it at Make so people thought like, it's just a Make thing, But that's an opportunity. I don't know if people listening in the chat can be like, no, we don't care. Because if that could be something we talk about and we can investigate other places to do a studio tour. I am thinking of doing a giant, like, Minnehaha Falls Park, like, studio mixer picnic, okay? To be like, you know what, if we're outdoors, it can handle a large capacity. So that could be.
Need a lot of sunscreen.
Yeah.
That's logistically easier than going to the studio.
But totally not opposed to a studio tour idea if we get the right partner.
Well, and I think too, like something with that is we can always start smaller too. Like, you said like 100 people showed up, but like.
I just get worried about.
I probably went to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
50 people show up.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah.
Maybe they weren't 100 people at the same time, at the exact same time, but
Yeah.
decently.
No, I think that's. I should probably be talking into a microphone. No, I think that's something that's worth exploring though, because like I think about like the art crawl that they do in like the Twin Cities, and like artists open up their studios and people just wander in and out, and you could look into doing something similar where it's just like a couple studios of the day. But yeah, fair enough. IP.
Yeah, the problem is that the art crawls make sense because the fine artists are selling their paintings to the people coming through.
Yes,
the
that's
problem
fair.
is that the commercial people, we cannot show you what we are working on. It is NDA, so.
I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do because we used to do it too. And it's hard for the studio putting it on. They need to feel that they're getting an advantage out of it.
I will say, if you are feeling the need to try to figure out what studios are here, or you're trying to figure out a way to have an opportunity to cold email without feeling like you're like, I want a job, I'm sending you an email, some advice I gave students recently is to attend the Minnesota Electronic Theater. That's what I'm here for now. And I have a nice connection because it was one of the first film festivals I ever did. It got me on the film festival bug. It's why I keep doing them. It's why I run them now. But it shows student work, professional work, and independent work. And the reason I recommended it as a way to see what studios are in your area is a lot of studios submit their work to the professional category. And you can kind of get an idea of like, oh my God, I didn't know that was made here. Like, I didn't know Sour Patch Kid commercials were made here. And I saw that and I was like, those are made here? That's crazy. And so I think that's a really good way to see what's in our area. I know we also have on our website a general list of some studios, if you're ever curious, like who is actually located here. Because I know sometimes it can be hard to find, like, who actually has a presence here and who doesn't.
That actually lets me lead into a different point. We had some people even here submit questions about, would we ever do a freelance roster list for the community? And we've always held off because as we talked about what Nice Moves isn't, we didn't want to come off like a recruiting agency or, like a job placement sort of organization. But something that we are going to work on, and also being in partnership with other organizations, is Springboard for the Arts has rolling rosters of other types of artists. Like they'll have like, I think a graphic designer page and they have a like videography page. And we're like, well, we just don't think it would be a good fit to have motion designers listed under that. We're gonna reach out to them and see if they can just make a animation/motion design oriented list. And then that way we outsource the work. And then hopefully you guys can get on those lists. I am gonna respect your guys' time and wrap up the official town hall here, but I have like one last thought to just overall say, which is, you know, we talked about how obviously Nice Moves can't solve all problems, but I'm just very aware of like a lot of the people in my life are having a hard time right now, and I've been thinking a lot about what is it that Nice Moves can do. And I think a lot of people online right now are using the buzzword of community and being like, oh my God, you know, community is it. It's like the savior to everything. And while I don't totally agree with that, the idea that it is easier to pivot your career if you can reach out to people who know what they're doing is so true. The idea that it is easier to, okay, all right. It is easier to survive if you have friends, and I have made many of my closest friends through people who have this shared passion and interest. And the idea that it helps a lot to have a public forum to show your work, to network and make connections that is not gate-kept by you already have to be a cool kid that's in the know that knows the other cool animators, and it's just like, nope, you can show up to this event at any time, once a month, is something that I hope we can keep facilitating. So, and if anybody wanted to help out with that by being a committee member, you are not obligated, but we are so cool and nice, so you could be friends with us. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it in.